Hi, friends. I can't believe it's our last week of summer school already. It sure went by fast, but I'm so excited to see some of you at school soon. It will feel so good to be back with our friends and teachers. For these last videos, I wanted to choose a book that has a familiar title. This book was turned into a movie many years ago, and recently it was redone. I bet a lot of you know the movie or have seen it, but maybe you didn't even know it was a book, too. I'm going to give you a couple clues to see if you can guess what our last book will be. Are you ready? Okay, clue number one. The original movie starred Robin Williams. He was also in Mrs. Doubtfire, a bunch of other funny movies. Clue number two. The new movie stars The Rock, or Dwayne Johnson. Do you know what it is yet, just from my two clues? Okay, clue three. Another actor from the newer movies is Jack Black. He's one of my favorites. I love his voice in the Kung Fu Panda. Any guesses? Okay, our next clue. The newer movies also have Kevin Hart in them, the comedian. Getting warmer. The original movie was based around a board game. I think that was a pretty big clue. The newer movies are based around a video game. Have you guessed it yet? Okay, that was your last clue. So, the game that we're talking about, the video game and the board game, and the name of the book and movies is Jumanji. Have you ever seen any of the Jumanji movies? Have you watched the original one or the newer ones, or maybe both? Did you know that Jumanji was also a book? I was just talking with my husband. I had this book sitting here and we were getting ready to watch the movie. And he was like, "Oh my gosh, I didn't even know Jumanji was a book." It's pretty good. So you'll have to wait for our next video to hear the book, or you can even get it from the library, or maybe even look on YouTube to see if there is a read aloud that you can follow along with besides mine. I think I'll try to do my best to show you the pictures, but it's a really big book, so I don't know. I always like to have the book in my hand to follow along with the video. So I love the original movie. I saw the first version of the newest one, but I haven't seen the second one yet, and I'm hoping to watch it this weekend. So I'm super excited to share this book with you, and I hope you enjoy it and make some connections to the movies if you've seen them. So before we get started with reading, I want to review some of the vocabulary that we'll come across in the book. So to do this, we are going to make a flip book. We're going to make it a little bit interactive. We'll have our vocabulary words, the definition, and the part of speech. So you will need a piece of paper, any color, something to write with, and scissors. So I'll give you a minute to gather your supplies. I'm going to get mine together too, and then I'll flip the camera around so we can fill it out together. I really like flip books because you can use them, go back. If you are reading, you can get out your flip book and go back and check out the word if you forget what it means, and that's just something handy for you. So take a minute, gather your supplies, and I'll see you in a moment. Okay, I have my sheet of paper, grabbed a marker. I chose blue, one of my favorite colors. I believe we made a flip book in one of my previous videos, but I think they're a really good resource to have and to use for vocabulary words, so that way when you're reading you can go back, check a vocabulary word if you forget the meaning, or if you want to match it up with the words that are in the book. So we are going to fold this a long ways to begin. Go ahead and just find the edges and make your crease. Now we have 8 words. So what I like to do is open it back up, and we're going to make 8 cuts. These cuts don't have to be perfect. My will be about 1.5 inches apart. I said 8 cuts a second ago, 7 cuts, but then there will end up being 8 flaps. So if you want to first, you can draw your lines with a pencil like I did and mark out your lines. And then you are going to take your scissors and cut and stop at the crease. Your flaps don't have to be perfectly spaced apart. Make sure you don't cut all the way across, or else you're just going to have a bunch of strips of paper. Okay. After you're done, you can flip it back around and fold your flaps back. And then we'll write the word on the outside of the flap, the vocabulary word, and then when we open it up, we can write the definition. So, our first word that will come across in Jumanji is delight. D-E-L-I-G-H-T. Do you know what delight means or what it means to be delighted? Have you heard that word before? We open up, let's write the definition. It means to be filled with happiness. Have you ever felt delighted before? What made you feel that way? I'm curious to see why the author chose this word and what happens in the book where somebody is feeling delighted or feeling full of delight. Do you have any predictions? What would make somebody feel this way in the book Jumanji? Okay, let's do our next word. Protested. You might be familiar with this word if you watch the news with your parents. Maybe you've never heard this word before. Let me zoom in so you can see a little bit better. Okay, protested means to fight against something. I'm going to open up the first flap as well and just kind of draw a line where my cut was so it separates my two sections and the definitions are separated. So protested, to fight against something. If you've seen the movie Jumanji, or maybe if you've read the book before, why would this word be a part of this story? Why did our author Chris Van Allsburg choose this specific word? Do you see how words make stories more interesting? And instead of him just using the word fight, he used the word protested. It sounds more interesting. Okay, let's do our next word. Monsoon. Monsoon. If you don't know what a monsoon is, it is a heavy rainstorm that happens in Asia. So we do have thunderstorms here in Ohio, but we do not have monsoons. These are extreme. So we might have a really bad storm one night, but in Asia, it is like buckets and buckets and buckets of water and flooding. It's pretty scary. If you're curious what that looks like, go to YouTube and type in monsoon and watch a clip of one. So far in our story, we're going to have something that happens where somebody's delighted, filled with happiness. Then something might happen where they're fighting against something. And then I'm predicting a heavy rainstorm or a monsoon is going to happen. So I'm really curious. We go from one feeling all the way to a rainstorm and fighting. Should be an interesting book. It sounds like there's going to be a lot of ups and downs. Okay, our next word is casually. You might dress casually for school. Drop my line. Casually means to do something in a relaxed way. So this is kind of the opposite of elegant. Elegant is super fancy, but if you are dressing casually for work, you want to be relaxed. So I'm thinking maybe like jeans and a soft t-shirt or a hoodie, maybe even sweatpants, or we might get crazy and have pajama day at school sometimes. Again, we're going from one emotion all the way down to after the rainstorm, then is something going to happen where they relax? We'll have to wait and see. Okay, our next word is gasping. I'm sure you know what that means. I bet you have done it before too. What has made you gasp in the past? I feel like people often gasp when they are afraid or shocked, or maybe if they just ran a marathon and they're trying to catch their breath, which is what this word means. Gasping means trying to catch your breath. Go ahead and try it once. Try to make a gasp. Try to make somebody else gasp. Maybe you can jump out and scare them or play a little prank. When I was writing down the definition for gasping, I remembered when I stubbed my toe on the edge of the bed. That made me gasp too. So there's a lot of different ways that you can do this, and they might not all sound the same. I feel like there's a difference between when you're scared or when you're hurting. What do you think? Relaxed and then gasping. So I'm guessing something in the story happens in between here where they kind of start to breathe a little bit, relax, act casual, and then something happens where they're gasping and trying to catch their breath. I don't know what that is yet, but I've seen the movies, so I kind of have a feeling I might know what's going on. But don't give it away if you've seen it. Okay, our next one is stampede. If you've ever seen The Lion King, you have seen a stampede in that movie. Such a sad scene in that movie. So a stampede is a large group of running animals. You better look out if there's a stampede because they will run you over. I don't think that this happens very often in Ohio. We don't have large groups of elephants running around here. But in Africa and other places, they definitely have seen stampedes. And I think it's a safe bet to say that a stampede is going to happen in Jumanji. I just don't know what type of animal is going to do it yet. Our next word is horror. Now I know some of you know this word. You might even like to read books like this or watch movies like this. Horror, really scary. So it's a bit of a longer definition, so you might want to write smaller. It's an intense feeling of fear. Okay, so feeling scared, shock, or even disgust. Okay, if your room is really dirty, your mom might open the door, or your dad, or your grandma, or grandpa, or whoever you might live with, they might open the door and be in horror because they're disgusted from your mess, or even in shock. I don't think that they're afraid of your mess. So there's a little bit of a difference here between the three words when we're talking about horror. Okay, you have to really pay attention to the context to see if they're talking about being really afraid. Okay, like I keep thinking of the books Goosebumps. Or if they're shocked, surprised, or disgusted, grossed out. Okay, so make sure you're paying attention to the words around this vocabulary word and what it's saying. So that way you have a better idea of what exactly it means. And our last word is pier. Not like a pier at the beach where you stand out on the dock and look into the beautiful water. This pier means to look with difficulty at someone or something. Okay, so kind of like squinting. You're really focusing and trying to see what's there. Look with difficulty at someone or something. That's it. Those are 8 vocabulary words. There might be more that you come across in the book that you don't know, but what you can do is hop on a Chromebook or grab a dictionary and go old school, ask a friend, and see what that word means. You can even get another piece of paper and make your own flip book if you find more words that you're unsure of or if they look unfamiliar. Okay? And when we're reading too, I want you to have your flip book by you so that way when we come across a word and you might forget what it means, you can just open it up like, oh, they just said delight. What does that mean again? Oh yeah, it's to be filled with happiness. Okay? And you might want to rewind that segment as I'm reading. So after you know the word, it'll make more sense when you go back and hear it again. So I want you to make a prediction, tell somebody nearby, or comment below. After going through all of our vocabulary words, what do you think Jumanji is going to be about? What types of things are going to happen? Or feelings? What do you think our characters are going to go through? I'm so excited for you to listen to this book. And if you haven't watched a movie, I encourage you to watch them after we listen to the story. And I want you to tell me too which one you like better. Do you like the book or the movie? Because oftentimes the book is better than the movie, but I don't know, I think the movie did a pretty good job. Alright, friends, I'll see you in the next video. One more thing I wanted to point out before we start our story is the author Chris Van Allsburg puts Fritz in all of his books. Okay, Fritz is an English Bull Terrier. So while I'm reading, I want you to look in the pictures and see if you can find him. So it's a dog, and he is in all of Chris Van Allsburg books. So if you've ever read any of his other books, make sure you go back and look for Fritz. Have fun!